Every time we've rushed to hire, we're like, we settled. When you settle, you're coming below your bar.
Welcome to Carry On with AJ, where serious capital meets honest conversation. Each episode, we sit down with investors and operators to unpack the decisions behind long-term success. Welcome to today's episode. Let's jump in.
I like to start with a quick introduction.
Sure.
And HIG is a phenomenal brand and have great reputation in the industry. Can you tell us more about HIG and your role at the firm?
Sure. So HIG Capital is a middle market alternate asset management firm. We are truly multi-strategy. Today, we've got all forms of credit. We've got PEs. We have realty. We've had phenomenal growth over the years. Today, we are at 75 billion AUM, 1,000 employees. I head up the technology function for HIG Capital. I've been here for 20 years, coming up on 21 years. And
Wow.
I've got to see this amazing growth of 85 employees, 4 offices, 4 billion AUM. To today, we are 25 offices, over 1,000 employees.
Yeah, right. Well, your role must have changed a lot over the period of time too.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe tell me a little bit, how does a typical week for a CTO at a global fund?
I'll look at my calendar Sunday, and I think I have an idea what my week's going to be like. By 10 in the morning on Monday, it's a whole different week. It's everything from new requests to crisis. In today's AI world, it's come in Monday morning and there's 3 or 4 different requests for new tools. Really try to have my group not be the group of no. No, it's really important to understand where you're trying to go. I want to meet you along that journey. I may have something that you're not aware of. We've grown large enough that not everybody knows everything that we have. So it's understanding what the need is and trying to find something within our existing tool belt that can help you accomplish what you're trying to do. That means putting the person together, not only with the right tool, but maybe the right people, connecting of the dots. So just trying to help people connect with other people is part of the job.
Maybe put a North Star to what you're doing. What is the thing that you're solving for? Is it safety? Is it efficiency? Is it cost?
It really is all of those. And so
Mhm.
we're now in a complex world where it's not one or the other. I need to continue to operate as fast as the firm does, securely, and meeting the needs. A typical thing if you talk to any CTO, right? If you don't meet the needs of your users, if you don't give them alternatives, you have shadow IT that comes out. And now with AI, it's shadow AI. We try to work with our different groups. And some of the best ideas, they haven't come from my team. And I love those collaborations.
I had those experiences when I was doing investment banking. I constantly have to use new tools because also we're trying to onboard that tool for our company and win that IPO because we want the real world user experience and tell that like, oh, because for example, we used Grammarly, we fixed all the issues with the prospectus and look how better we're writing now. And also, as a client, that helps with the winning the business. I've heard with that newer technology, you are the person get your name on the line, and you could say like, if I choose AWS or Microsoft, my career is pretty safe. If anything goes down, it's AWS's problem. What else can I do, right? But if you choose a very niche and new tool and that goes down, then why did you choose this?
Again, it depends. For certain things, you don't want to be too niche.
Uh huh.
We will do our due diligence. We'll put up the warning flags. We will support it. And sometimes it goes down. But some of the AI tools that we're using, we've gone ahead and partnered with some early stage folks because we want to help control the dialogue. We want to help control how the product is developed. And some of those have worked out really, really well for us.
So what's your framework? Like you constantly see this is the last tool you need. This is like a full stack. This solves the problem of everything that you had. Now a new idea come to you. What is your way to suss it out if it's a good tool that you actually need?
Right? Our framework, and it doesn't matter if it's AI, if it's a traditional tool. We first start
Uh-huh.
with some sort of security assessment, then start a POC. But we really pride ourselves on when we're testing the tool, it's not IT testing it in a bubble. That is the worst mistake that can happen. We've got a set of folks that we've partnered with. We call them our champions group, and we'll get volunteers to come out and say, here's this tool. We think it can help doing this. Please use it and give us feedback. People that are going to use that tool get early in the process and give us real feedback. I can come up with the greatest tool that I think is going to speed things up for you. It's going to help you with due diligence. But that's not what I do every day. I'm not the subject matter expert. Someone like yourself who's come up the ranks on this, you're going to know very quickly within an hour yeah, this looks interesting, or no, this is all smoke. Getting those people involved, if they get excited, then I get really excited. And then we really start going in deeper and harder and having those conversations.
There's a narrative about SaaS company. It used to be a per seat based business before for over 15 years. A lot of businesses have changed to a usage based pricing model. Do you think this is the death of SaaS?
I think it's the evolution of SaaS. You're seeing in terms of the pricing models, depending on the product, it's actually more beneficial for the customer because that way you're paying for the usage. I've had products where it's by the seat and we do the usage, it's only being used by a small number of folks.
Mhm.
And that just makes it more difficult to manage. The reality is, compute is very much in demand, memory is very much in demand. So it just makes sense. I mean, the last thing you want is you want to buy a SaaS product that it's not priced in a profitable way for the company, but you become reliant on it, and then they either drop the product line or they cease to exist.
Oh, got it. Do you guys develop software yourself or like using no code, low code, or just real development?
If you asked me that question a few years ago, the answer I would have said is we are a buy versus build, and we do absolutely no development. Now, you asked me this question now in the last year or so because of the evolution of low code, no code, of things like vibe coding and all of this. We are doing more development than we had ever done. But it's low code, no code. We're doing a lot of Microsoft Power App with embedded
Uh-huh.
flows. Amazing. You can turn something around very quickly and have it be a dramatic impact into the business with it. So we've been doing a lot more of that than we ever have. So I'm excited for the low code, no code development.
Can you give me an example? Like, how do you choose buy versus build? What's the typical use case?
The majority of the big products that are going to be buy because I don't want to build an ERP system.
Right.
I don't want to
Yeah.
have a large staff to support it. But when we get a lot into the what'll be a very niche special purpose, bespoke process that we have, and we want a
Mhm.
piece of software to accelerate it, that's when we're going to do it. Workflow lends itself to that so well. If you have a very unique workflow, we've developed some front end tools, a portal where it'll manage a process for us. It's going to add value along the way. Make sure the user's putting in the right information, data quality at the beginning, and then have very good reporting along the way. Then you can use that tool to come back and say, where are the bottlenecks? So the tool becomes part of the solution long term to it. Took us 90 days to roll it out completely with testing, and the response has been phenomenal. It's become a building block for other things that we want to do because it just really works for our bespoke solutions.
Interesting. Maybe the infrastructure you're using is Microsoft, so
Yeah.
kind of it's already pre-built for a company like us. Like I do real estate, and there's no public tools for property searching, and so we built our own. But we find ourselves paying for so much more because the data, the API to connect to these things, and the seats on the low code software. And I was like, maybe we couldn't afford this. And we constantly have to maintain and upgrade, right? We got ourselves into a very difficult technical debt situation.
Basically sprung up a development shop inside of your organization. And now you have to maintain your own product, secure your own product, right? There's a security component. You have the issue of having to pay for these API feeds and the data. You're going to have that whether you buy or build. That's just it's the nature of it, and you're going to pay for that API usage, and you have to monitor that. But that's all part of building in. Whether you're building or buying, you have to have that management layer in there to understand what you're paying for and make sure it makes sense. This goes back to the tools that you asked me earlier about switching from per seat to usage based. That's a whole nother discipline that we're developing, which is managing this usage. If you're not careful, when that bill comes, it can be a surprise, and I don't like surprises.
I like to touch on a little bit of cybersecurity because I think it's very important for today's AI impersonating people, employee, or just a simply phishing email could get you into
Yep.
really deep trouble, right? For you to manage 1,000 people across 25 offices, like global practice, you always have that exposure. Somebody is late at night, clicked on something that they shouldn't, and you have a problem. How do you build the framework of protection layers so you can sleep good at night?
So look, you hit on a key word there, layer, right? It's defense and layers. It's not one product. We layer in endpoint protection, penetration testing as a service, red team exercises. But really, the most important part is user training. Your weakest link is going to be your users. We spend a lot of time and effort making security part of our company's culture. We do phishing tests to our users. We do security awareness training. We do in-person training. Security is not an obscure thing. Everybody here at HIG has gone ahead and gone through training and constant training, and we talk about it all the time. Our users have gotten their sense of awareness so high, they question legitimate emails they'll send into the security department. Can you tell me if this is real? And we say, well, but that's
Uh-huh.
good though. Managing over 140 portfolio companies, we see a lot of information, intel, and events come in related to security matters. And we leverage
Right.
that so that we can understand and really educate our folks. And everyone is involved with security. We have an entire security team, but we've made the entire technology department an unofficial part of the technology team. The other important thing is from day one, we started a security program, complete and absolute support from the executive management team. They have been getting the right policies in place, the right rules, right guardrails. Security isn't always convenient. It's not always fun, but it's the right thing to do. And when you have a management team that is supportive of that, it makes a world of difference.
Got it. Security can be pretty expensive. Just industry average. Is there like a guideline, say like you should spend 5% of your IT budget on security or 10%? Is there anything like that?
There's guidelines out there, but it really varies based on how sophisticated you want to be, depending on industry. We view security as not an expense, but an investment. But what we are constantly doing is we are reviewing our spend, we're reviewing our subscriptions as they come up, and we're willing to make changes. Usually the changes about better products. What you'll see right now, products are kind of coalescing around certain products now have enough functionality that we're always looking for the overlap. And so we
Hmm.
try to simplify our tech stack from just an operational component and if possible from cost. We're not going to make a change just because of cost, but cost can be an impact to it. But
Yeah.
every dollar that we spend on security, we feel we get 10, 20 times on return in terms of the value, the protection of our brand, our data, our people, of our LPs. It is really a small cost that gives us a huge return.
Got it. What do you think about cybersecurity insurance? Are you familiar with that? Are you a user of that insurance?
We are a firm believer in it. About a decade ago, we also launched a cybersecurity insurance program not only for ourselves, but for our portfolio companies. And so we invest a lot of time and effort in developing a good program. So we spent a lot of time investing in a very manicured, purpose-built policy that if we have to use it, and we want to make sure that you have a policy that's going to work for you, that's going to protect you. And we review everything from the terms, from the exclusions to who we're allowed to use on the insurance panel. We make sure that everybody in that insurance panel it's somebody that we would want to have on there. This is not an
Mm.
optional thing. This is something you need to have. It is about value protection.
As a small business owner, nobody would think I need a cybersecurity insurance the same month that they're opening for a business. At what stage do you think it's kind of relevant?
I think every company needs to have some degree of cyber insurance. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, the math is based on the potential revenue impact, the unforeseen cost in recovering from an attack. But you're protecting companies not from the directed attacks. There's a lot of drive-by attacks out there. Remember the bad actors out there. It's a business. It's a volume business. They're going to go after all sorts of companies. If you have connected to the internet, you are a viable target. You need that insurance so that you have access to the experts, the funding to help recover quickly. When we get the pushback, we'll say, well, what's your cost if you're down a week, a day? What's your cost if you can't recover your data quickly? So insurance just really helps mitigate that. In conjunction with that, you need to have a good program. So we've
Right.
gone ahead and we've really tried to have a maturity assessment of the companies that we invest in. We help them get from a low maturity to an acceptable maturity in a cost effective and a healthy way, leveraging what we know and we've learned.
Interesting. That's super helpful. It's way more methodical than a typical commercial insurance that you can click for $190.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Sounds good. Briefly mentioned you're simplifying, streamlining the tech stack. When in the tech world, there's a platform solution and there's a point solution. A lot of times, the point solution is a startup just to create a new way to do things slightly better. A better email, a better phone, a better AI customer service tool. There's sometimes significantly better than the peers. And how would you assess like this point solution gets on my list?
So what we've seen over the last 5 years, something comes up when there's a new solution, says, well, we're a Microsoft shop. And it might be something that we've got it in our Microsoft subscription. And what we'll look at, and it'll help us really drive it, is this point solution. Not only we'll ask, is it better? But then we'll ask, what is that total cost of ownership? Is it also easier to administer, to run? And we've had in some cases where that point solution is really easy to administer. I'm spending less employee time managing it. What I'm spending time
Mm.
on is taking the outputs. And so I think you need to look at it holistically like that. And it really helps us be more efficient. Like, as I said, we're spending a lot less time on running the solution and more time looking at the actioning the outputs. And that's where the real value is.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And I would love to understand how you guys use AI to help you drive efficiency. AI is giving the old firm a new leg up because the data assets. Is that something that you're capitalizing?
Yeah. So first thing is you have to be using AI right now. Period. And if HIG was starting today and we were launching with
Mhm.
AI, technology stack would look totally different because there'd be zero technology debt. That's always a little bit of an advantage there. We would not have 30 years of data to monetize and take advantage of. What I think on the larger firms, what it's doing for us is it's helping us unlock that data. I think
Mhm.
some of the data, even though it's well organized, has historically been very siloed. The path to unlocking it was, would just take time. And so as we roll out solutions that are AI based, we are no longer talking implementations in years, or we're talking about 30, 60, 90 days. AI has really allowed us to be in that agile approach, which is we're able to roll something out, get value today, and keep evolving it. I think one caveat people forget about AI is you might think you have the world's best data. AI is going to right away identify those pockets of inferior data for whatever reason. It's also going to identify opportunities where you think you may have a very mature process that is stable, that is perfect for AI. AI is going to break it really quick. And that's a great thing because you're going to end up better with it.
Yeah. Do you think there are more work created by AI than they actually reduce and streamlined?
In the beginning, yes, because you have to lay out a new AI framework. If you pick your initial use cases well and you inject them into the work stream, you start relieving people of the repetitive tasks that just happen all day long. Data analysis. You can take raw data files, put it into your product of choice, and start interrogating it and really start driving information value very quickly. You start paying upfront, but you will get value very quickly.
A lot of employees worry that AI will eventually replace them, right? I have a personal different view. I now a business owner. I just think I have unlimited amount of work to do. If my employee is 10 times better with AI, I want to hire another employee so I can 20 times better. Like I can outcompete other firms in my field, right? By hiring more. So I still have the need of hiring, but I don't think that that's a common view among others. So I would love to hear your thoughts.
And the first thing I tell them is, listen, number one, you have to take AI as a force multiplier. It allows, as you said, that one employee to to be impactful. But the other important thing that I really try to instill in their mind is you may not get replaced by AI, but you will get replaced by someone who is using AI.
Mm.
So embrace the tool, make it work for you. When internet and email came out, there's a lot more fear. But we can't imagine today working without internet and email. As we move along, you're going to find yourself very soon having the conversation of, I can't live without my AI tool. It is now an integral part of my life, my workflow. It helps me get organized. And as I give the trainings, I'll tell folks, use it in your personal life. It becomes part of your muscle memory. And all of a sudden, you find yourself using it at work without even realizing it.
Do you worry that it will downgrade people's independent thinking?
I do think there will be a part of the work streams that will be very commoditized. Things
Yeah.
on the IT side, certain parts of development, they're going to be commoditized. That is going to happen. But I think, I really choose to focus on what it's going to free up, the creativity it's going to be on. the benefits are going to way outweigh the projected downside to it. I know that's
Hmm.
controversial, but I choose to focus on the real value that we can generate out of it at a level that
Right.
we had not thought about 6 months ago, 9 months ago.
Yeah. I just recently read a stat. In the Silicon Valley, the population have grown after COVID. People are getting more jobs from AI shops and it actually become a boomtown. So I guess it's the people finding themselves in a
Yeah,
different position, but I think they just need more people now.
in some aspects. It's just a shift. What we're having is a labor shift now. It's AI is creating jobs that did not exist a couple of years ago. People are being hired to teach prompting. There's the whole education piece. There's an explosion on the data side because now data is more valuable than ever because of AI. So
Right.
so as you said, I think yes, we're all reading the headlines, but we're not reading the smaller headlines of where the jobs are growing and the opportunities that are being created out of this.
I'd like to switch gears and touch a little bit about how you build your team. What type of culture are you creating, and how do you actually tell people that that's the culture?
The first thing I do is I'm looking what the person I'm interviewing talk, and I'm looking for the intangibles, things I can't teach, which is innate curiosity, a sense of urgency, a desire to really learn and grow beyond. That takes a bit of interviewing, multiple rounds, um, and to me that is valuable. What attracted me to technology is that it's ever changing. I always tell folks we're going to do different things. We're going to have some crises. We're going to work hard, but we're going to go ahead and really drive change. We're going to partner with the business, with management, and really be impactful. And if we're going to have these moments where we're handed a mission and we're going to sit there staring at each other and going, how are we going to do this? We're going to allow ourselves the 30 seconds of fear of maybe we can't do this. That's all you're allowed. Now let's move forward and plan with it. And I think you have to invest in the people. You can talk about all the culture you want, but you need to demonstrate that culture, a culture of
Hmm.
inclusion, a culture of, you always hear, "Oh, it's the open door policy." I try to make myself accessible to all levels in my organization, sit in their meetings, go and have lunch with them when I visit the different offices and take my team and say, we're going to have lunch. And when I'm at that lunch, when I'm in that meeting, I'm not the CTO. I am just another part of the technology team. And I want to hear the good, the bad, and hold me accountable. Hold me accountable all times. It's about investing in the people. We invest in training.
Got it. Um, we're a smaller shop and we don't have the resources to train people. I don't know if I spend 3 months with this person telling them what I wanted them to do, they'll actually do it. So, how do you identify the signs that this is a trainable person and I'll keep him on the team or her on the team versus not?
So first of all, you need to make, whether it's yourself or if there's a manager in between, they need to be interacting constantly with the person, not to the point that it's micromanaging, but
Right.
you should have a good idea. Don't wait 180 days to say, oh no, that wasn't it. You need to be providing that feedback. They need to be
Yeah.
hearing where they are measuring. They need that frank conversation. It's I want it from my superiors and they want it from you. So look, you're doing this really well, but you're not doing this. And then try to understand if that is a skill that is a trainable skill. I try to own when we've had a mishire where I'm like, well, I didn't do a good enough job interviewing. I need to be held accountable to, but it's dialogue, it's communication. If you do it right, doesn't happen every time, but if you do it right, at that end of that 60, 90-day period, if it doesn't work out, the employee should kind of already figured it out as well.
Yeah. And how do you find people? If you are looking for new high quality people, what are the channels?
We always encourage referrals. So some of my best hires have been referrals. Some of my worst hires have been referrals. We look at all sources, and it really comes down to having a good job description, make sure we're doing the interview process right. And really, I think the other most important thing is have the right interviewers. Make sure that
Yeah.
the interview team is cross-functional. Hiring someone and you have four interviewers and they're all just doing the technical part of it, you're missing the cultural fit, the interpersonal dynamics piece. You're getting different elements and you want that complete picture of the hire to it. And then the last thing I'll always tell folks is don't be afraid to say, I need to see more people. Every time we've rushed to hire, we're like, we settled. I don't care how desperate you are. When you settle, you're coming below your bar. You need to, and
Right.
I learned this in my career, is I needed to learn patience. And then you'll know you found the right person when you're excited. The time you should be most excited is when that person signs on and when they start, because at that point you're like, this is great. If you're not excited, then you probably settled.
All right. So you had a wonderful career. What advice would you give to yourself? And I'm so curious. Why didn't you switch jobs? Like, what kept you there?
So I'll answer the last question first. As a CTO, my tenure is very off market. I think the average tenure of a CTO is 8 years. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the firm that I work for. We've gone under tremendous growth. So we've really changed along the way. So I think that's been part of it. Also, the dynamic nature of it. I mean, if you think about the story, I said we grew to be international and we opened up Europe, Latin America, we've opened up in Asia. So it's that constant change that has really kept
Mhm.
me engaged. I was telling my wife, if I come home 2 weeks in a row that I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, hit me over the head and tell me it's time for a change. The advice I would give anybody is you've got to enjoy what you're doing. If you don't like
Right.
what you do, because all our jobs are going to be stressful, we're going to have bad days. But if you don't, then it's time to look for something else. You got to be patient. Technology is moving fast, and sometimes you just need to hold the line just a little bit longer to make some of the decisions. But that impatience sometimes helps me drive my sense of urgency. So it's a dual-edged sword. Why am I still here? Because I'm having fun and I'm enjoying it and I'm being challenged. And most CTOs will not admit this in public, but I will. I enjoy a good crisis. So, COVID was a great challenging experience. 5 days a week in the office to we were not in the office for 18 months. From a technology perspective, we had to flip a lot of things and nobody knew, nobody needed to know. It wasn't their problem. It was my team's problem. And
Yeah.
we enjoyed that challenge.
Yeah. It builds more robustness.
Yeah.
And as you said, even though you didn't change your role, the job has kept changing. It kept you engaged. Very rarely I can get to have a conversation with a CTO of a big firm. And thank you so much for your time. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being a great host and the questions and probe. This has been fun.